What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall market. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about other pieces of news out there, what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just remember that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So, as far as NIO goes, despite the fact that we have this head and shoulders like structure, I do want to call out the fact that we got their deliveries numbers. They're not looking too bad. But even if we got some decent deliveries, NIO does try to rebound a bit off of this. I don't think the move is going to last forever because there is still weakness developing on this pattern. So I still think there is ultimately more downside coming to the share price for the time being, but that's going to create nothing more than just like another buying opportunity for the long term. So I just hold the same views as before. So with that being said, let's talk about what's happening with the market and I'll break down more details. Just know this, and in terms of how the market's moving, we have very we have very minor data for Monday. It's going to be November 4th. But then Tuesday we have the elections. Don't forget about that. That's going to be a big factor affecting us going into Wednesday and beyond. So Wednesday through Friday are going to be pretty crazy days as we have FOMC on Thursday, the election on Tuesday, and all these other things. And it's going to lead to some high volatility. However, despite that, I think that there might be a little bit of uncertainty in the markets, especially with all these earnings coming out. This is what the calendar looks like. There's nothing too crazy as well. So with that being said, let's talk about NIO's numbers. NIO is looking at a new record as they did another 20,000 delivery month for the month of October. In total, we saw 20,976 deliveries for the month of October. That is, once again, not bad whatsoever. It's becoming very normal for NIO to achieve 20,000 deliveries consistently. You guys can see it right over here. That's very, very nice, consistent sales. And on top of that, look at this. You guys can compare to the numbers to what we saw last year. We had 15,000 in September, 16,000 in October of last year, and now we're doing over 21,000 or close to 21,000 for each of those months. So that's not bad whatsoever. Great growth from the company, and they are once again exceeding expectations. We actually have more data ready for you to go over. So in total, we're basically looking at 20,976 deliveries in October of 2024. That is a 30.5% year over year growth, and they consisted of about 16,657 vehicles from the company's premium smart EV brand NIO, and about 4,319 from the company's family-oriented smart brand Onvo. So that's very, very bullish overall. On top of this, the total deliveries reached about 619,851 as of October 31st, 2024. So they crushed it. They beat what a lot of people were expecting initially. And I think that as time goes on, their sales are just going to continue to increase. NIO is playing a game where they want their sales to just go up and up and up as they improve their margins. So that's what the hope is basically hinging upon. So that's what their goal is as they're seeing some strong deliveries. And I think this is amazing news. And on top of this, I am expecting a lot more growth going into next year. Now, eventually, the share price is going to keep up with this once they get those margins in place. So that's the reason why I'm excited. Okay. I'm very excited because, yes, okay, right now, things are a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough for NIO as a whole, especially when you consider the fact that the share price is going down. We're continuing to see a dip. And yes, it could dip a little bit lower. So let them dip it lower if that ends up being the case. That is completely fine. And that is what we're essentially expecting. So there could be a dip coming to the share price as we come down to these lower levels, but we could see a very, very nice amount of growth, a nice bounce as time goes on. Because of the fact that their sales are going to improve alongside their margins as time goes on. So I think revenue in the company will improve. We have to give it more time as the sales are growing and be very, very patient. Right now, there are high interest rate environments right now. It's going to take time to really get those economic hardships out of the way. But as time goes on, I'm very confident NIO is going to be fine. So look at the head and shoulders. Yes, there's downside potential for the share price, but the long term is still very, very bullish. On top of this, we got about 44 million in volume, a little bit below average, which is why NIO is kind of flat. And Maguire, JP Morgan, all of them are saying NIO is going to outperform the market eventually. That makes me very, very excited. Besides that, price price ratio has been dipping as NIO is losing some strength. And then Mondays tend to be green about 49% of the time, when we also tend to see more volatility around 11 o'clock a.m. and also around 2 p.m. So give this the time it needs as well. And we'll see how things end up going. So that being said, guys, what do we see for the market moving forward? Looking at NIO, there is a head and shoulders like structure that's developing. If we break past 5.38, we're looking for this gap fill above. If we end up dipping, we're looking for a move back down. If we lose 5, I do anticipate we're going to be dumping back down to about 4.74. And then if 4.74 fails us, we have a gap to fill all the way down to about 4.2. So my prediction is this: there's a head and shoulders right now. We could attempt to rebound a bit. It's about the 5.25 area. And then I think NIO is going to reject, and I think that there's going to be a risk of it dipping with the broader markets. And we may slowly make our way down into the fours off this head and shoulders. That's the most likely case. We'll see if we get that break. If that, if we lose $5 looking for a bigger dump. So be very careful, guys. There is a risk of downside in the share price despite our strong deliveries. Once again, this is just a short-term projection. The long term is still very bright despite that. Just keep that in mind. As far as SPY goes, we look a little bit more bearish as we're on the daily 50 EMA. I think that approaching the election, there's going to be an increase in volatility. We could rebound tomorrow morning, so look for an attempt to get back up to about 573, maybe a little bit higher before it continues to dip back down to 569. If that 569 area fails us, I think we come down to fill the gap on the daily back down to about 563. There could be a small dip approaching the election, so just keep that in mind, guys. That is not a surprise because of the ambiguity, but we'll see what happens after the election. That's when the real reaction is going to come. ES might try to pop a bit for 57.80, then it might be coming back down to continue to consolidate. Then we could be dipping back down towards that 56.80 area. Although there is potential for us to come down to fill this gap, we might just see a little bit of consolidation first, maybe a small dip on ES as well. Watch 57.50 as our main support at the 50 EMA, and we'll see how things end up going. As far as Nvda goes, if Nvda breaks past 135, we're going to be looking for basically 137.5. If we reject off 135.4, we're looking for a dip back down towards 132. I do anticipate it's going to be coming back down to fill this imbalance towards 132. So look for a rebound attempt in the morning, then a dip back down to where this imbalance is as the most likely case for Nvda. For others out there, we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin was trying to push a little bit. It's still riding its 20 EMA, but be careful as there's a little bit of weakness building here. If we lose 68,200, we're looking for a dip to 65,600. Although it's a little bit unlikely, I think the most likely possibility is to kind of pop a bit close to about 69,500. Then we start dipping back down to 68,200. We just kind of shuffle in this range, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get, at least from here moving forward. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla's once again dipping right over here. We could attempt to test the 250 area, maybe a little bit above that before it starts dipping back down. And I think that the odds are favoring 244 very soon if 250 fails us. So if 250 holds, we're looking for 252. If we lose 250, we're looking for 244, not to mention 242 is our support. But I do believe that 244 is likely coming, which is where we have our 20 EMA, not to mention this imbalance. So I favor a little bit more downside as the most likely case for the 244 area. If that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down towards 238, but I favor 244 is the most likely case for the time being. For NQ, NQ is stuck within a range between 20,300 and 20,000 flat. We could push for 20,200, then maybe reject and start dipping to 20,000 all the way down here. And if that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down towards 20,850. So I think that NQ has potential to dip lower, look for an attempt to rebound, at least in the morning. And then we could be looking for something that's a little bit different. So look for 20,300 and a dip back down, and we'll see how things end up going from here. For the QQQ, we have resistance at 490 and support at 484. We could pop a bit for 488 and start dipping back down to 484 before we start dipping all the way down towards the 480 area. So I do anticipate there might be a small dip coming. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. For Aapl, on Aapl, I'm seeing the same thing essentially developing. I think that there is a risk of Aapl potentially coming down very similar to that of the QQQ and the others. But this is going to also depend on a couple of other factors. So we're going to be waiting to see what happens with many of these new developments. But with that being said, guys, I just wanted to say that we're going to be patient with these new developments as well. I anticipate the downside that's coming to this market is something that's going to be lasting. So just be very careful as we get closer to the election, and we'll see how things go from here. With that being said, I thank you for listening. As far as NIO and the broader markets go, if NIO does end up losing that $5 support, we're going to be anticipating some downsides. So just keep that in mind, guys. I'm just here to give you guys a warning, and I'll be back with another update in about a day from now. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll be back very, very soon. Thank you, and peace out.